Tiffany Stratton has finally spoken out regarding the criticism and debate that surrounded her SummerSlam match with Jade Cargill. Even though we are a few weeks past the event, that particular bout is still being talked about heavily within the wrestling community. The conversation has not died down, largely because of the way it was handled. People have questioned the finish, the structure of the match, the booking decision of not putting the women's title on Jade Cargill, and the surprising choice of WWE to continue running with Tiffany Stratton as champion. That decision sparked plenty of hot takes online, and it's somewhat ironic considering the fact that the contest itself only lasted around 7 minutes. Despite being relatively short, it caused shockwaves, as most fans believe this was the moment for Jade Cargill to finally achieve her big crowning moment. Many assumed this was the night she would become champion and solidify herself at the very top of the women's division. Yet that did not happen. WWE chose a different route. Instead of crowning Jade after the strong year she had, the company decided to keep the title around Tiffany's waist. This decision genuinely shocked many fans and analysts alike. On paper, it appeared like a lock that Jade would walk out victorious. She had momentum behind her. She had just won the Queen of the Ring tournament. She had defeated big names on her way through the brackets, and she had built credibility throughout the year. But when the lights were brightest and the match actually played out, WWE opted to throw fans a curveball and keep Tiffany Stratton on top. Looking back at Jade's year leading up to SummerSlam, it becomes even more surprising. She had returned earlier in the year at the Elimination Chamber after a hiatus that came from dealing with a neck injury. Since then, WWE had positioned her strongly, building a compelling feud with Naomi. That rivalry was arguably one of the standout feuds of the year, stretching across television and social media in a way that captured fans' attention. Jade picked up huge wins against Naomi, including at WrestleMania and then again at the Evolution event. On top of that, she went on to win the Queen of the Ring tournament, capping it off with a hard-fought victory against Asuka in the finals. Given all that, many fans felt WWE had all the puzzle pieces in place for her to have a career-defining night at SummerSlam. Instead, the decision was made to let Tiffany retain, something that was seen as a major surprise, even by those who were supportive of Tiffany's run. As someone who personally supports Jade Cargill and sees her as a future multi-time champion in WWE, the outcome was tough to digest. She has all the makings of a star who can headline major shows, possibly even WrestleMania in the future. Yet I also respect Tiffany Stratton's abilities and contributions. If Jade had to lose to anyone in that kind of high-profile scenario, it made sense that it was Tiffany. Stratton has arguably carried the women's division throughout the past year, positioning herself as one of the clear top names. Aside from a select few such as Jade, Naomi, or Bianca Belair, there haven't been many women consistently booked in strong fashion. Stratton, meanwhile, has stood tall in the spotlight and proven herself over and over again, even beating Charlotte Flair at WrestleMania, which instantly gave her credibility. Following SummerSlam, Tiffany Stratton gave her thoughts in an interview with the Babyfaces podcast. She explained that she didn't believe the match needed to be some kind of epic, life-or-death style encounter. To her, there wasn't a deeply personal story leading into SummerSlam, so she felt that a shorter, competitive, fast-paced match was all that was required. She admitted she was nervous heading into her first SummerSlam, but said she was happy with how everything turned out, adding that she was proud to have beaten Jade, even jokingly calling her Little Miss Jade Cargill. Her comments make sense in many ways. Wrestling fans often assume that every big pay-per-view match needs to be long, drawn out, and cinematic, but that isn't always the case. Promotions like AEW, WWE, and others sometimes fall into the trap of thinking every match must reach 15, 20, or even 30 minutes simply because of the stage it's on. That approach doesn't always work, and in many cases, it can actually hurt performers rather than help them. For a match like Stratton vs. Cargill, it was arguably the right call to keep it on the shorter side. A quick, action-packed bout can tell a story just as effectively, if not more, especially when the narrative going in is more about championship opportunity rather than a heated blood feud. With Jade in particular, the decision to keep the contest short was also logical. She's still relatively green in terms of experience inside the ring. Her biggest strength lies in her charisma, presence, and aura as an unstoppable athlete, but asking her to go out and deliver a 20 or 30-minute classic would likely expose her weaknesses. WWE has been careful with her since she returned in 2025, protecting her strengths and masking her limitations, and this was another example of that strategy. By keeping things concise and to the point, the company maximized both women's strengths without overextending them. The lack of an extended feud going into the match also justifies the time given. This wasn't framed as a deeply personal rivalry, It was simply a championship opportunity earned by Jade through her tournament victory. Tiffany was the dominant champion defending against a worthy challenger, not a bitter rival. In those circumstances, you don't necessarily need an epic clash. You just need something competitive enough to feel important, and that's what was delivered at SummerSlam. Of course, one could argue that if WWE had gone the route of putting the title on Jade, perhaps a longer match would have been warranted. In that case, a lengthier battle could have helped both women look strong. Tiffany would retain her credibility in defeat, and Jade would get her big moment, since the company chose not to switch titles. Though, a short match worked fine. It allowed Tiffany to remain dominant and for Jade to take the loss without too much damage to her aura. Now the bigger question is what happens next. WWE has been teasing possible directions for Jade but hasn't fully committed to one yet. There have been hints of her being paired with factions, or potentially building to a rematch with Tiffany. Nothing is fully clear at this stage. Some believe WWE may be deliberately holding back to build sympathy for Jade, especially if they want to solidify her as a babyface who fights through setbacks to eventually reach the top. That could be one potential story, Jade slowly climbing her way back, winning key matches over the next several months, and eventually punching her ticket to a WrestleMania title match, perhaps by winning the Royal Rumble or the Elimination Chamber. Another path, however, could be turning Jade heel. Tiffany is already functioning in a babyface-like role, connecting well with fans, so it could make sense to position Jade as a dominant heel who eventually smashes her way through Stratton and claims the belt. This option plays more into Jade's natural presence as an intimidating, powerful figure who can bulldoze opponents. It would also protect her from needing to generate sympathy and instead let her thrive in a role that suits her personality and physical dominance. Personally, that seems like the stronger option. While the underdog babyface storyline could work, Jade feels more natural as a ruthless conqueror. WWE could lean into that, allowing her to become the predator chasing Tiffany rather than the underdog fighting uphill. Eventually, when the time is right, Jade could have her big victory, and it would feel monumental, especially if Tiffany is well established as a credible, beloved champion by that point. Regardless of the direction, the SummerSlam match served as a talking point and a reminder that wrestling is often about long-term storytelling rather than instant gratification. While many expected Jade's crowning moment, WWE clearly believes her journey is not yet complete. Maybe they are saving the payoff for a bigger stage, like WrestleMania, or maybe they are testing the waters to see how fans react to different possible storylines. For now, Tiffany Stratton remains the face of the women's division, a role she has carried impressively over the past year. She has beaten major stars, delivered in big matches, and proven she belongs at the very top. Jade, on the other hand, remains a fascinating project, someone who is clearly destined for stardom but still needs the right story and booking to get her there. Whether it comes through perseverance as a babyface or domination as a heel, her eventual championship run feels inevitable. The debate around the SummerSlam match will likely continue until WWE makes its next move. Fans will argue over whether the company dropped the ball or played the long game, but at the end of the day, both Tiffany Stratton and Jade Cargill walked away from the match with intrigue surrounding them, and that alone ensures fans will stay invested in what comes next.